how can we play more in tune on the violin and feel more confident with our shifting specifically. In one of my previous videos on intonation, I discussed topics like tuning systems, ear training, intervals, and very importantly, the mind-body connection when it comes to shifting. I want to get a little bit into that, but this video will be more about the physical aspects of shifting and playing in tune, and you can think of the ear training as sort of a prerequisite foundation on top of which we layer how we do things. But those two things, they kind of have to happen at the same time, and sometimes when we train, one gets ahead of the other and things get a little frustrating, so I want to help you out a little bit here in this video. Hey, this is Ina Langerman from Violin.live, helping you along your musical journey. So in this video, like I said, I'll show you some of the basic mechanics of shifting to help improve your consistency and accuracy. The first thing is the basics of a good left hand frame. Most of us who learn violin, we start in first position, and basics of a good left hand frame is keeping the wrist straight, keeping good contact with the instrument, the base of the first finger here, the thumb on this side, straight line on the pinky side between the elbow and the pinky knuckle right here. All those good things, okay? Keeping the thumb consistent with the frame, you know, whether you like to hold it with your thumb like this or like that. Again, this is left hand frame. I'm not gonna get too much into it. I have a whole separate video about left hand frame. I made it a long time ago. I'm gonna link it somewhere where you can find it easier. Okay, so the second thing is when shifting up, especially with one of the lower fingers, one or two, it's important to keep the third and fourth fingers so they stay above the string. So there's a little test you can do. I call it the pinky pizzicato test. And the idea is to correct this very common mistake with shifting. So let's say, for example, you've been practicing going from first position to third position, and you're going like, your teacher maybe had you do this kind of exercise from the Yost shifting exercises or some other book. So let's say you're practicing this, right? But a really common issue here is, even if that is in tune, the third and fourth fingers, if they are not above the string, it's not going to help you when you apply this in a piece. Because what happens, and this is actually even more important to understand when you're in some of the higher positions, like if you get to fifth position, let's say I'm going to F sharp in fifth position, guess what? My pinky and even third finger, they're nowhere near the string. They need to be over there. So I do this really fun pinky test. So what I do is I play a scale with one finger up a string. You can do it either all on the same string, or you can go across two strings, doesn't matter. So I put my first finger on, let's say I'm doing B major scale, and I'll play the note, I'll pluck the note with the pinky. You can pluck it a few times. Then next note would be C sharp, or you could do it with the bow. So you see, and you can play the whole scale up and down like this. This ensures that the pinky is in line with the rest of the hand, so that this stays where it needs to be, and it's not like something like this, and then you have to kind of catch up all sorts of things. So let's say you're going, well, and now I can't reach the pinky. I have to change the shape of my hand, and then the intonation can suffer because the frame changed, and there's a loss of efficiency. So at first, practice only with one finger down at a time, but the other fingers, they do need to be nearby to maintain that hand shape. Okay, so the next step is to combine listening for the upcoming note, this is after the note after the shift, with many repetitions. So you have to know what the next note should sound like before you actually play it. If you cannot do this yet, then the shift won't be reliable, and you want to also learn how the arriving note relates to the one before and where it lies in the phrase that you are playing. Now, even if you know very well, what it should sound like. Let's say I'm doing the Mendelssohn Concerto, and I know how it goes, right? The opening. Right? But I have to be doing that kind of active listening really in the moment. Like, you have to really sync up the physicality of it with the speed of the shift, the speed of the bow. They have to match. And at the same time, you have to know where you're going, and I have to listen for the guide note. And of course, I have to get this perfect fourth. This is why I need to practice octaves a little bit more to get into that frame a little bit better. So then I repeat many times. After you get it, you repeat. Try to get at least 3 in a row. Right? So this concerto has so many shifts right from the very opening. Actually, I just thought of an even better example, and it's in the transitional theme, because these shifts are very, very difficult. Okay, so and so on. But even with such a simple melody, it's super, super easy to play it out of tune. Okay, so it's very important in the moment to combine the active listening with relaxation, with knowing the angle of the hand, making sure that the pinky is not over there somewhere. Also the elbow. I'm going to talk about this in just a moment. But before we get to the elbow, it's important to understand the basic foundation that we all need to play in tune on the violin, and that is knowing how different intervals sound. Okay, I made a video a long time ago on how to incorporate interval training into shifting practice. I'm gonna link it up here and in the description below so you can check it out. So once you're able to actively hear the note and be able to play it in tune, it's so important to train that mind-body connection. Do many, many repetitions, even when it's already good. Okay, it's so easy to practice the things that are hard, and let's say you're practicing for 20 minutes, and then finally you get it, and you get really excited, and oh, I can continue now, I can go on to the next thing. No, we can't continue yet, because we need to increase the percentage of the time you get it right. You know, try to get, at least to start with, at least aim for 3 in a row, because you gotta work it into the muscle memory one way or another. So number 4, next thing, in combination with the auditory training that I just mentioned in number 3, it's important to understand the following 3 physical aspects of the shift, of any shift pretty much. The first is that shifting in the low and mid positions mostly is that the shifting actually happens from the shoulder. Okay, many people focus so much on the hand, where the hand goes. You know, we're taught, hey, make sure don't leave the thumb behind. By the way, that's also like a basic thing, so that when you shift, don't leave the thumb behind, because guess what? We're still in first position. There. Now I shifted, the entire hand is here. But the actual shift, if the violin stays in this position, notice that my upper arm is moving in order for my hand to get here. If it doesn't move, let's say I have to rest my elbow against the surface. Let's say this is a table. If my elbow rests against the table, if I have to shift up, see, the violin goes up. Because like this, only the forearm is moving. So you want to make sure that your shoulder isn't stuck. That's where shifting comes from. By the way, if you're getting any value from this video so far, please give it a quick thumbs up down below and share it with a friend or a colleague who might find it useful. The second thing that you need to understand is that it's really, really helpful, and actually pretty much it's necessary, to anticipate the shift with the elbow. This is especially important for shifts that have longer distances, but it can work really just as well, even if just going from first to third position. So instead of just going like, okay. There, pinky reaches. But if you want to make that distance feel shorter, notice how in third position, the elbow is kind of like this, right? We're here, and in first position it's like that, right? So the idea is to get your elbow to get a head start a little bit. And then the hand kind of catches up. So by doing that, it actually makes the shift a little smoother, and that distance feels shorter. Now, again, like I said, if you're going for a longer distance, I'll just do to fifth position. For this one, definitely, because fifth position and higher, we need forearm to be like this, because we're coming around the bout of the instrument. So, at the very end of the B, and in fact, going back to the Mendelssohn example, this is a great one to demonstrate it with. Right here, if I want to play it up there the second time. So this gets a head start. Then I get my guide note, which is the F sharp. So the guide note, by the way, going back to intervals, the guide note is a perfect fifth away from the B. Bum, bum. So I'm here in the perfect fifth. And this is already in the right place, so the B should be right there. And then you work it in. Also work them backwards. By the way, anticipating with the elbow works just as well going down. Let's say I'm going down to the low B. So the elbow will go to the left when shifting down. And it goes to the right when shifting up. The third physical aspect that you need to understand is that it's important to release a little bit in the left hand finger that you're shifting with, and also the thumb, because they're both going to be moving together. You want to let your ear lead, and the thumb and finger, they're pretty much going to be the last thing. Again, so you're leading physically with the elbow, you're leading with your ear. The hand and the finger, they're kind of the last thing. And repeat. Repeat, 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 repeat. So the finger needs to be down just enough for you to still hear the pitch. And you gotta maintain contact with the neck to really feel that distance. So it can't be too light either. If I'm too light, it's a little scary sometimes. So I wanna kind of find the right amount of pressure that I can glide smoothly. Imagine somebody who's ice skating, they're on the surface of the ice. You don't want to be kind of on a rough surface. Imagine the ice is smooth. So it's the same idea. You want to glide smoothly, but you still gotta have that connection to hear where you're going. It's that this you want to feel the distance, and this will give you more information, more sensory information for that muscle memory to build up. So you're paying attention to the journey. So the correct destination is more and more possible. Okay, so now the final thing about shifting, and this is super important, this is something that a lot of people miss. And that is, after you arrive in the new position, and this relates kind of to the pinky thing we talked about earlier, it's important that you prepare right away the entire handshake that you're gonna need for whatever the music needs after. Like the whole steps and half steps that are necessary. And also, if you remember, the size of that frame, it changes, right? As you go from position to position. This is why we generally shift with one finger down at a time. Okay, so let's say I'm going back to Mendelssohn, but I still have that guide note down, the F sharp. But I also, not only that, but once I played that high B, I also know that the second finger is going to be a half step with that F sharp. So I already anticipated kind of this hand shape. I talked a little bit about this in my video about how to play fast passages better. and this is a very important aspect of it actually. So this is very important that you remember what the hand shape is supposed to be. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Depends on the music, right? So these are some of the most important things about shifting to understand. It's true for pretty much any level, whether you're playing your very first piece with shifts, perhaps it's the Humoresque from Suzuki's third book, or whether it's Vivaldi's A minor concerto, and it works just as well for virtuoso concertos like the Brahms concerto. All those principles hold true. So again, lots of hearing, lots of pre-hearing, lots of understanding and experimenting what the angle of the fingers are to the string, where the elbow is, the speed of the shift, the speed of the bow. All those things matter, the hand shape. So I hope this video was useful for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I try to answer as many comments as I can. I do read them all. Now, if you're someone who takes lessons but you would like some supplemental materials to help you along your journey with practice, I do post a lot of videos on this channel for pretty much all levels, from beginner through professional, with generic tips that have helped me along my journey, and some of them come from different perspectives. So if that's something that's interesting to you, subscribe to my channel. It's free education. If you are so inclined to do so, give me a super thanks if this video was useful for you. Share it with a friend or a colleague, and happy practicing.